Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh and you're watching Perspective. In a historic feat, India's space research organization successfully launched the BlueBird Block-2 communication satellite of the United States AST SpaceMobile today from Satish Dhawan Space Station. The satellite was successfully placed in orbit and the mission was declared a success. Weighing 6,100 kilograms, BlueBird Block-2 is the heaviest payload ever deployed into low Earth orbit by LVM-3 launch vehicle. Part of the next generation constellation, the satellite is designed to deliver space-based cellular broadband, bringing 4G and 5G connectivity directly to standard mobile smartphones. This was the sixth operational flight of LVM-3 and a significant leap in global telecommunications. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called the launch a significant stride in India's space sector and a proud moment for the nation. So to discuss the mission's significance and its wider impact, I'm joined by an eminent panel of experts. I'm pleased to welcome two distinguished guests joining us virtually. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Guru Prasad, Director, Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium, Bengaluru, and former ISRO scientist. Sir, pleasure to have you with us on the show today.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm also pleased to welcome Dr. Amitabh Ghosh, Mars scientist at NASA. Sir, thank you for joining us and welcome to Sansad TV. Dr. Prasad, let me begin the discussion with you. This is a historic moment for ISRO and a proud moment for the nation. And India's Bahubali rocket has placed the heaviest ever satellite into orbit. What were your first thoughts when the mission succeeded?
I was jubilant, I would say. Okay, any other Indian needs to be like this. I feel because it's a very, very proud moment for India. You know, I still remember as I came to know through various sources, on November 21st, 1963, India launched a small research rocket called Sounding Rocket provided by NASA. And it carried a scientific instrument provided by France. And the people who launched it from Tumba outside Thiruvananthapuram at that time were enthusiastic young Indian scientists. Look at today, 62 years later, okay, India launched its heaviest launch vehicle, or I would say to be more precise, most capable launch vehicle built by India was launched today from Sriharikota, and it carried a 6,000 plus kilogram American satellite, which is very sophisticated, and carried it to orbit, okay? Carried it to orbit very, very precisely. And it is not that launch is declared as success. It is a success, no doubt about it. Because, let me tell you, the satellite should have entered into an orbit which is about 520 kilometers high, roughly say like 520 kilometers.
Right.
What was achieved was 518.5. What else you need, in fact? It was so precise. So India has come a long way. India is having the capability to launch large and heavy satellites and very sophisticated satellites very precisely. And this is the USP of India today. India is a major spacefaring nation. This was proved today again. Okay, it is a repetition, in fact. So it's a matter of pride. India is one of the major spacefaring nations with the ability, capability as well as the capacity to design, develop, build, test, and more importantly, to launch the satellites as well as to manage them in orbit and even offer services to the outside world, space-based services, various services to the outside world on a commercial basis. So this speaks volumes for India's technical capabilities and skills as far as the domain of space is concerned. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's India has come a long way, and it's a major boost for ISRO as well. So the LVM-3 has achieved what ISRO calls its best ever launch accuracy, unmatched globally. What Dr. Prasad also mentioned. So Dr. Ghosh, how significant is this milestone for you and for India's launcher program, according to you?
So what I'm thinking is, this bodes very well for India's Gaganyaan program, the human spaceflight program. So this launch vehicle, the LVM-3, has been used for Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3, and now for this. And then this is going to actually help be the main vehicle for Gaganyaan, as I understand. So India is going into a very different league of human spaceflight from robotic spaceflight. Human spaceflight requires much heavier launch vehicle, much greater reliability. So all this is in the trajectory of Gaganyaan, I would say, in my eyes. So I think it is a huge success. Obviously, as you said, the launch accuracy was very good, and the satellite was successfully placed. But I think we are going to see a much more ambitious, and the moment the human spaceflight program starts and starts launching astronauts, it will use launch vehicles like this, and that will be absolutely an incredible journey forward.
Definitely. So, Dr. Prasad, for us and our viewers, I would like to understand from you that this is a commercial communication satellite and represents a significant leap in telecommunications technology. So, could you explain in simple terms the role of commercial satellites play and why this mission matters?
Yeah, it's not only commercial satellites, even satellites owned by national space agencies like NASA or ISRO, and commercial entities like, AST, this one, communication satellite, that is whatever was launched today, BlueBird Block-2, AST SpaceMobile companies, which is an American company.
Right.
Communication satellites, they have played for the past 60 plus years. They have played a very important role. And, as Marshall McLuhan told, they have enabled Earth to become a global village, the world to become a global village. Connectivity is so high. Once upon a time, many people were isolated, and now it is not the same. Globe is not the same. The world is not the same. But let me tell you, when it comes to communication satellites, once upon a time, almost all of them, or why all of them, were destined for the so-called geostationary orbit. That orbit is at a distance of 36,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth over the equator. What is so special about that orbit? If you were to place a communication satellite in that orbit, the satellite takes 24 hours to go around the Earth. But we have to remember that Earth also takes 24 hours to spin around its own axis once. Because of this, the satellite speed is synchronized with Earth's spin motion around its axis. So, in essence, such a satellite behaves as though it is standing still over a particular area, let us say India. So, we have many geostationary satellites today, starting with our Apple and INSATs and now GSATs and such things. But there is one disadvantage in the case of geostationary satellites.
Right.
Okay, one satellite can cover the entire country. That is different. But at the same time, there is what is known as latency. You might have observed when you are anchoring a program and when you are talking to one of your reporters, by the time you finish, he or she will take some time to understand that, or even to comprehend what was told. There is a definite time.
There is a lag.
Yeah, there is a time lag or
Right.
delay. And this is because the satellite is at a distance of 36,000 kilometers.
Right.
Excuse me. So the thing is that latency is not acceptable nowadays. In fact. Okay.
Okay.
So because that, instead of one geostationary satellites, people are launching hundreds or even thousands of communication satellites in the so-called low Earth orbit. That means any orbit which is within 1,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. There, the signal travels at the speed of light very, very quickly within 1,000 kilometers. Compared to 36,000, it is 1/36th of that it takes time. So it is very realistic. When you say something and very quickly you can listen. And, this is the USP of low Earth orbit. And that is why, Elon Musk, actually, many earlier satellite systems like Iridium and such things, they began operation in 30 years back. But Elon Musk's SpaceX has a Starlink system, Starlink's low Earth orbit communication satellite system, which has launched more than 9,000 satellites, communication satellites today, okay, in low Earth orbit.
Okay.
So it is there, but it has got its limitation in the sense you cannot transmit the information to regular mobiles easily. But and Jeff Bezos, Amazon is there. Okay, another company that too is perfecting their own low Earth orbit communication satellites. But here, AST SpaceMobile's satellites, especially in the Block 2 series of these satellites, okay, BlueBird satellites,
Okay.
they can transmit broadband cellular internet data, okay, cellular broadband data to even ordinary mobiles, which I hold in my hand now.
Right.
Okay. Just regular thing. This is the latest information. Okay, this one satellite will not cover the entire world and anybody can talk to anybody else all the time. It is not like that. Many more satellites like this have to be launched. And what is very surprising thing is this satellite, when it unfolds its antenna completely, it is as wide as 2,400 square feet. Its area will be that much. It is mind-boggling. I cannot even think of it.
Absolutely.
So that is the latest as far as the communication satellites are concerned.
Absolutely, sir. So, Dr. Ghosh, this satellite is being described as a game changer for mobile connectivity, as Mr. Prasad also mentioned, especially because it works without ground towers. And this is expected to revolutionize communications in underdeveloped and remote areas around the world. So, what is the technology behind this and why it is considered revolutionary for satellite communications, according to you?
Right. So, okay. So, as he said, there has been companies that have tried to do this, notably Iridium, like I think in the 2000s. So here what you're trying to do is you have a satellite, and you can really reach out to the remote areas. What happens so if you're in an urban area, you have a tower, and the tower beams the cell phone signals over the urban area. Here, you're doing this from orbit, so you can beam the signal over a larger area. But these type of satellites are not able to pick up the heavy, dense user population in urban areas. So these are good for the remote areas.
Okay.
So it is one way that is very good. On the other way, you will have lesser number of users. So I would not say, I think the new generation, the Starlink and Jeff Bezos' system, as well as these are the new generation coming, and this can complement cell towers. So it's not like the cell towers will go away. It's going to complement for the remote areas. Which of these will survive, and so nobody knows. So here there is an advantage that you don't need a base station like a modem to translate. So Starlink is right now offering services. You would have to buy some sort of a device to get the signal and get this to your phone. So here that's not required. But which of these will actually survive in terms of business model? Only time will tell.
Okay. Dr. Prasad, I'd like to understand from you, what kind of positive impact can such missions bring to the country, both technologically and economically? So can we expect more international commercial payloads on LVM-3 in future, and what does that mean for the revenue and for the job?
Okay, let me tell you one thing. This is not the first time LVM-3 has launched a satellite from abroad, or a foreign satellite, whichever way you look at it. See, actually, LVM-3, in two of its launches, it has launched a total of 72 satellites already. It had launched in 2022 and 23. A total of 72 satellites, foreign satellites, it had already launched into this kind of low Earth orbit only. Now, all of them, first launch around 6,000 kilograms. Second launch also near 6,000 kilograms, both of them. This time, a large satellite, which is more than 6,000 kilograms, has been launched very accurately by LVM-3. LVM-3, you have to remember, it was designed originally for taking a communication satellite or any satellite towards, let me tell you, not into, towards geostationary orbit 36,000 kilometers high. But look at it. Look at its versatility. It has been used, okay, to launch satellites into low Earth orbit. And it has been used, it has already launched 3 communication satellites. It has already launched into low Earth orbit, crew module atmospheric re-entry experiment. And now it has launched Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3 towards the moon. Not just like that towards the moon directly, indirectly, around the Earth first. So now, again, it has launched a satellite into low Earth orbit. Originally, it was designed to take the satellites towards geostationary orbit. Now look at it. And the same launch vehicle is being tipped. Okay, it is taken up for Gaganyaan program. But what is being done is human rating of the launch, this LVM-3 Bahubali. Human rating. Human rating means when you carry a human being, the rocket or the launch vehicle has to be much, much, much more reliable than a satellite carrying rocket. That has been completed by ISRO. That's what I understand. And now, so LVM-3 will be used for human spaceflight also. So now LVM-3 has seen 9 launches, including today's one, and all of them have been successful. That shows the reliability of the launch vehicle, and when the outside world looks at it, with what precision the 72 satellites, earlier smaller ones, as well as a big satellite weighing 6,500 kg, has been launched very accurately into orbit, and India's own communication satellites have been launched towards geosynchronous transfer orbit by the same vehicle, and the fact that it launched 2 planetary spacecraft towards the moon. Because though moon is not a planet, because of its size, it is called as it's a planetary thing, body, because of that. So this all augurs well for the India's launch vehicle program, which has already built 6 generations of launch vehicles. Thank you.
Absolutely. Picking up from that, what Dr. Prasad was saying, that this LVM-3 has built a strong track record launching missions like Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3 and multiple OneWeb satellites as well. And most recently, the successful mission accomplished also in November. So Dr. Ghosh, how does this growing legacy strengthen confidence in LVM-3 as India's heavy lift and commercial launch vehicle going forward?
So it's a complex question. I think if you think of what is the wider implication of this, the biggest is perhaps the biggest story is in the India brand. I mean, from the Mangalyaan, Chandrayaan to this launch, etc., there are very few countries that can do this. This is what we forget. There are 200 countries, and there are very few countries who have this engineering capability. And so India is certainly in that very, very select club.
Right.
Space. But other than that, the launch market is very complex. It's not that you can access the international launch market immediately. There are national security laws, etc. So you cannot go and launch for any military satellites for any country. And the launch market is also right now dominated by SpaceX. And why is it dominated by SpaceX? It does reusable launch vehicles, which means that it reuses part or whole of the launch vehicle, and that's why the cost is maybe 95% or 90% less. So SpaceX dominates that market. So I don't think Indian launch vehicles can become a global provider if that's what you're implying. But at the same time, India will need it for its own human spaceflight program. There's going to be huge needs for that, the launch vehicles. And if you think of wider question as to what does the space program help the country, see, it helps in building that ecosystem for engineering. It helps in training the manpower. So it's said that the Silicon Valley revolution in the late 80s and early 80s was a result of the Apollo program in the 60s, which built the capable engineers who then went on to make more discoveries in computer science that ushered in industrial growth in the US. So here it can help build the ecosystem for firms who develop engineering goods, and then it can help train the manpower, and of course it will help Gaganyaan and the Indian human spaceflight program.
Definitely, sir. So, Dr. Prasad, in space exploration, we are preparing under Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are working towards building our own space stations, over 300 startups working in space sectors. So, and India has had an exceptional year in space, from, space docking NSR to an Indian astronaut heading to the International Space Station. So, how do you assess this year and the progress India has made in the space sector?
Yeah. I would say India has been largely successful this year, whether, it is GSLV, okay, which launched NISAR satellite very precisely into the required orbit, as well as this LVM-3, which has been launched twice, in fact, within a short span of 52 days or something.
Right.
And it's very good, but at the same time, what was a little bit disappointing for ISRO was the inability of PSLV
Right.
to actually to launch a satellite to the required orbit, considering the fact that PSLV is one of the most reliable launch vehicles, in fact, one of the most reliable launch vehicles in the world. But these things are common. I always say there are two dictums here. One is space is not for the faint-hearted. Second thing is, whenever a launch takes place, it brings butterflies into the stomach of the people.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many unknowns in the domain of space. So failures are common. But India's mantra, let me tell you, like Atmanirbharata, ISRO never shied away from accepting the failure, in fact. Let me tell you, failure is not seen by ISRO as a failure. It is seen as an opportunity to obtain new insights into the behavior of a very complex system like a rocket or the launch vehicle. So this is the thing which has made ISRO to surge ahead. So let me tell you, in addition to that, one of the navigation satellites which was launched, anyway, it could not reach its intended orbit finally. So these two were the main things. Other than that, space docking is one of the most difficult things to actually accomplish, because the satellites, both the satellites, the target as well as the chaser, both of them, they will be moving at 28,000 kilometers per hour. How do you control them and without making them to hit each other? And that will have its own difficulties and problems. So because of that, ISRO was very cautious, and it has already demonstrated extremely well as far as docking, separation, redocking, and separation, these kind of things. So it speaks very well for ISRO's technical capability. Apart from that, NISAR is working very well, and the communication satellite as the CMS-03, which was launched by the same Bahubali in November, it is working. And now we have launched a foreign satellite very, very accurately. So Indian space program, if you take this year, 2025, it is largely a success. In addition to that, of course, the entire country rejoiced when Shubhanshu Shukla went to space. Of course,
Absolutely.
he didn't go in our rocket or in our spacecraft, but the kind of inputs which his flight will provide to the Gaganyaan program will be very, very significant. And this does very good for our Gaganyaan program, about which we have a lot of expectations, and the entire country is excited about it. So largely Indian space program this year has been very, very successful. And let me put only the last point. Prime Minister Modi ji, actually he inaugurated the Skyroot facility. Okay, it's a private company. Their rocket integration facility he remotely inaugurated, okay, last month.
Right.
So That shows, Indian space ecosystem is quite vibrant. Looking at
Definitely.
success of ISRO, I'm sure the private sector as well as the startups, they will also gear up and they will compete as far as success is concerned. Thank you.
Definitely, it is a big year for India with key milestones in space exploration. And these achievements underline India's growing self-reliance, vital for missions like Gaganyaan and a sustained space presence. Dr. Ghosh, take us through how this particular launch strengthens India's capabilities and supports that endeavor.
Not this specific launch. In general, the trajectory of launches of LVM-3, it does graduate India into a much higher, bigger satellite range. So PSLV would not have been sufficient to launch human astronauts. So now India needed something bigger, and so it gives India that bigger launch vehicle, right? Bigger launch vehicle to launch human astronauts. So, and the reliability and the trajectory is very positive. And just to backtrack a little bit, if you think of how ISRO has developed, when I traveled to the US for higher studies, at that time, India did not have any planetary science program, no Chandrayaan, no Mangalyaan. And in the last 25 years, India has gone from Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, human spaceflight, thinking of space station. So, and if you think of the ISRO budget, I think it has gone from maybe 300 million to, I don't know, it's a couple of billion now. So 8 or 10 times increase. The facilities, the capabilities, everything has exploded. And if you thought in 2000 about India will ever have a commercial sector like Skyroot, a company like Skyroot, it was unthinkable. So the Indian space sector, including ISRO and all these ecosystem of 300 small companies that have startups that have started in the last few years, this has been incredible. The journey has been incredible.
Definitely, India's space sector journey has been incredible, and clearly it has been a remarkable year and a historic moment for India's space program. So thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Prasad, for joining us and sharing your inputs on this mission. Well, viewers, that is all I have for you in this edition of Perspective. Stay tuned and keep watching Sansad TV.